Hello. So Adam has left the building, or he's on his way out the building, and this is Jake Griswold here from Heartbeat in the Brain. And we just finished up the WCSB record fair, just got done cleaning up and putting everything away. And as you may have heard, our special guest was the Space Lady, and we have her here in the studio with us now. She was kind enough to do an interview.
Hello.
And she did an amazing show, and everyone's still kind of buzzing from that. So thank you. Thank you for playing. Thank you for coming out here to Cleveland, your first time here.
Yes, and absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. You came out from Toronto, I guess.
Yes. This is the last gig on a 10-day East Coast tour.
Oh, you've been on the road for 10 days.
Yeah, starting in Miami.
Oh, okay. So you flew to Miami and then worked your way up the coast.
Yes, like that.
And was this an atypical gig? Were most of your gigs in regular concert places?
Yeah, small clubs.
Small clubs.
Mostly.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because today you played out on our lawn, sort of, the AstroTurf, in front of the AstroTurf.
That was so delightful. Because, of course, I got my start on the street, and I'm always inspired to have open sky above me and earth below my feet and, fresh air blowing by, sunshine, lovely weather like you provided for me today.
Somehow we were able to bring that. Yeah, WCSB provides the weather. It was really nice. Right before you played "Fly Like an Eagle," I heard it was like a pause before the song, and two ducks flew above me. And I looked up for a second because I heard a noise. I was like, "Is it an eagle?" Well, a couple of ducks, but that works out. Yeah, it worked out really well since your set was so environmentally focused.
Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I think we managed to get the Goodyear blimp was around.
I saw it earlier.
We saw it on the way into
I saw
town.
I saw it earlier in the day on my way up there, but I kind of lost track of it during the set. Yeah, we got Steve Z in the studio too. Our trusty cameraman, pizza man, Steve Z. Although today we didn't eat pizza, we ate some vegan food because you're a vegan, and we got some nice curries and stuff. It was pretty good.
Yes, delicious food. Thank you so much for providing that.
Yeah, it was tasty. I hadn't tried it. It was a nice place, and let's see. So let's go back a little bit. What's your real name?
My real name is Susan.
Susan. Okay, cool. And you are from Colorado?
Yes, I was born and raised in Colorado.
Big city or rural Colorado?
Very rural, actually. When you hear the word Colorado, you think mountains, but
that's what I think. Yeah.
No, I was raised on the prairie. In fact, a little prairie town whose literal name, for those of you out there who speak Spanish, is...
Yo puedo hablar español.
La ciudad de las ánimas perdidas en purgatorio.
I think even the people who don't speak Spanish might be able to guess what that means. Steve, could you shut the door because I'm picking up a lot of background noise. Thanks, man.
So Los Animas for short.
Los Animas, yeah, and that's southern Colorado, below.
Yeah, southeast corner of the state, on the sort of the Kansas flatland.
Right.
Of Colorado.
I remember I came up from I think it was New Mexico last time I was driving through there, and I drove through Pueblo.
Yeah, Pueblo
yeah.
is just 65 miles west of Los Animas.
Oh, cool. So how long did you stay there? When did you depart from the prairie lands?
So I left upon graduating from high school in 1966 and went directly to Colorado University in Boulder.
Okay.
And
seems like it would be a nice place to be in the 60s, Boulder.
It was, but as it turned out, I was ill-prepared for the academic life of Boulder, coming from such a small town. And
and at that age, I think a lot of people are unprepared to go right into college. I sure was.
Definitely. I was already pretty much a space shot. And so I ran away to join the hippie movement in San Francisco.
Just in time for the Summer of Love, I guess, right?
Just in time, 1967.
Wow.
And I was ill-prepared for that, too, as a matter of fact.
I don't know who would be prepared for that, from what I've heard.
It was life-changing, absolutely.
Wow, and you stayed out there for quite some time, right?
No, I returned to Boulder and tried to
recover.
Yeah, I was. I just couldn't find myself for quite a while until I traveled around, lived in a commune in New Mexico, hitchhiked back to San Francisco, and that's where I met my first husband, my first and late husband, Joel, who was really instrumental, pun intended, in creating the Space Lady.
Okay, had you played music before that? Had you grown up taking piano lessons?
Grown up playing classical piano and flute, and that was about it. But I had a good foundation I grew up in a musical family.
Right.
And I had a classical background, but it turned out to be a lifeline when I had no other way of making a living.
Oh, so you started performing in order to, like, busking, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Joel happened to be a draft resistor, a war resistor, and a draft evader. So he was keeping a very low profile. And so I kind of became his interface between the public, to make a living, but in the process of...
What do you mean by that? You were performing his songs, sort of?
To begin with, I was selling pen and ink drawings and collages and poetry books.
Oh, okay.
Just,
And this was
beating the pavement, selling
This was
art.
in like the late 70s or something?
Yeah,
Around that time. And
we tried to flee to Canada, but we couldn't cross the border for several reasons. For one thing, we destroyed our IDs and changed our names.
This was during the Vietnam era? Okay.
And we ended up in Alaska, thinking that was about as far away as we could get from...
That is pretty far. You have to cross through Canada to get to Alaska, though.
Well, we took a ferry.
Oh, okay, right.
When we couldn't get into Canada, we took a
Okay,
ferry
I didn't even
to
know they
Alaska.
offered that out of like Washington or something, huh?
And Alaska was, again, it was a terrific culture shock.
I
from
bet, yeah.
Being San Francisco hippies. The first people we met up there were Puerto Ricans, actually.
Oh, really?
Transplanted fishermen.
I've been all over the lower 48, but I've never been to
Yeah.
Alaska, so I don't
Yeah,
really,
it's
I've
not
only seen
exactly what we expected.
Yeah.
And also, at the time, Joel was trying to hone a musical act as a one-man band.
Okay, writing his own songs or performing
Writing
covers?
his own, and covers, some of his own, but mostly covers.
And that was like with guitar, kind
With
of
guitar
folk
through
music?
an old reel-to-reel Echoplex.
Oh, that sounds like something I
It
would
was
actually
amazing.
very much like, yeah.
It was beautiful.
Do any of these recordings exist, or like any live recordings or anything that he
We never managed to
played?
record any of that. but
Back
we-
then, it was very difficult, I imagine, to lay stuff down.
And he was the original wearer of the winged helmet.
Oh,
And
wow.
called himself the Cosmic Man.
Okay, well, how did that come about? It's like because it's almost like Viking sort of style.
It's more of a Mercury or messenger of the gods.
Right.
Is how I like to think of it.
So he would perform, with the helmet on, and it had like
except,
lights on it and stuff.
He only performed backstage. He never quite got the courage up to, burst onto the scene because he was so worried about being busted for draft evasion. So,
Oh, right.
so
in Alaska, he was performing this amazing
he was
music.
trying, but then again, the culture shock of the music that was popular up there was mostly blues, and he just didn't feel like his space music.
Yeah, it's a little too
would
far
be
out
well
maybe
received
for
up there.
Alaska. Yeah.
It was pretty provincial and redneck, actually.
Yeah.
And so he was unhappy. We didn't feel comfortable in Alaska, and we couldn't get to Canada. And we made friends with a guy from Boston.
Okay.
And the summer was ending, and he said, well, the school season is about to ensue in Boston, and there's all these colleges and more progressive people and young people who would really appreciate your Cosmic Man presentation. So we loaded up a VW bus and trekked across country to
Wow.
Boston.
And at this time, you still weren't performing yet. You were still
No,
just...
I wasn't even thinking, dreaming. I mean, this
Yeah.
space lady wasn't even a twinkle in either of our eyes.
Right.
at
The
that
Cosmic Man was
point.
there.
The Cosmic Man was a thing. He was a powerful person, powerful personality, a brilliant artistic genius, and a madman as well.
A lot of a lot of artistic geniuses
Yeah.
seem to be. That seems to be how it goes.
So I've got a question about it sounds like early on when you were hanging out with the Cosmic Man, as you said his name was. The space lady wasn't a thought or idea yet. Was there something in particular that came up that seemed to inspire that or spark that, or was there a seed that was planted somewhere that where Space Lady
Well, it's kind
grew
of
from?
a bit of a story. I hope I'm not.
Oh, we have time. So you're in
Okay.
Boston. Yeah, you've trekked across the
so we
country,
got to Boston.
made it to Boston.
Again, Joel was not confident enough to perform in public, and we ended up having to pawn his equipment
Oh.
just to get by.
Right.
You know, it was hand to mouth. I started panhandling, for lack of anything better to do at the time, and ended up losing all of his equipment. We couldn't pay off the pawn loan.
Wow. So
So
are
we
you
were
like living
just
out of the van,
grounded.
sort of like?
Actually, the guy who had driven us in his VW van said he saw it was quite apparent that Joel was not going to step forth and do his act, and so he loaded back up and went back to his home in Alaska.
Oh wow.
And so we were pretty much stranded in Boston, and again, culture shocked, because
Yeah.
Boston was very conservative compared to San Francisco.
I guess so. Yeah.
And what time period? Circa what year would you guess this
So
we're
I
talking about?
think it was 73 when we landed in Boston, and we didn't
Oh, okay.
extricate ourselves until 1984.
So 11 years spent in Boston.
Yep.
And what did you do during that time? Just like panhandling?
Panhandled and sold my sketches and.
Oh, cool.
and
So you're an
Joel's
artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I did pen and ink drawings and made them into greeting cards, and
Oh, cool.
I would just peddle them on the street.
Yeah.
I did that until 1980. In 1979, we had our first baby.
Oh, okay.
So that was
That's got to be rough. Yeah.
big
Like.
transformation.
And
too,
did you
because
did you have a house by that point or anything?
we
or?
did have an apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. Had the baby at home, had a midwife, but we were really living beneath the radar still, and just it was such a transformation for me emotionally and spiritually, and suddenly I just was overcome with this need and desire to do something more respectable for my baby daughter,
Yeah.
for a livelihood. And at some point, a couple years previous to that, Joel had found an old beat-up accordion in a junk store, and we paid $20 for it, and he was fascinated with all kinds of instruments.
Yeah.
But it just sat on our music room floor for those couple of years, neither one of us having the vaguest idea how to play an accordion.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty different than.
I just had this inkling that maybe I could play it. It was a keyboard on one side, for heaven's sake. And
Right. A keyboard that you have to
so,
press.
yeah, convinced him to let me take it down in the subway and just kind of feel my way around it and try to earn money busking instead of pedaling and panhandling.
So would you just play or would you sing at that point when you?
I would just play. I just
Okay.
worked on take me out to the ball game for the
Oh,
Red Sox,
okay. Right.
Sox fans, and when Irish eyes are smiling, just simple, 3-chord melodies.
Mm-hmm.
But I quickly figured out how the buttons were arranged, and I just never looked back. I just had such a good time
Yeah.
learning as I earned, because rather than having to approach people were coming to me and putting money in my box, and
Oh,
was
cool. And you were
just-
making a little bit more money this way
Yeah,
than
I
you had
did.
been with the...
I immediately was making more money.
Because sketches, I mean, that takes a while to make,
Yeah, it
having
was-
to do each one individually.
Trying to approach busy people on the street who didn't want to stop and look at artwork
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, especially in inclement weather.
And before you picked up this instrument, had you ever had music lessons?
I asked
Yes,
that already, but...
Well,
I did have the piano background, and so that was, invaluable.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah,
did
the basis of... I like our banners because Steve's concentrated on filming, so he misses some of those questions. So when did you start? And we have a caller, but I will take questions from callers, but maybe in another 15 minutes. So just whoever's calling, just hold on, and I will take questions from the audience. But we'll continue on with the story for a little bit. So you were working your way around it. You find yourself really liking it. And when did you start incorporating singing into it? During the accordion era? Or?
Yeah, I got a little Radio Shack mic. I believe the first one was a headset mic, in fact. And at Joel's insistence, I got it was a reverb, it wasn't a delay. Reverb, not even a pedal, just a little box that
Okay.
I
To make
taped around my waist.
And you made your voice a little echoey.
Yeah, give it a little bit more, ambience.
Right, because there's not a lot of people playing an accordion with a echoey voice. That's an original thing.
It was very subtle, actually. Just
Oh,
a little
okay.
reverb.
And what songs did you start doing? What were you performing at that point?
Doing some Beatles tunes and some folk tunes, the old Stephen Foster tunes, and
Okay.
anything that I could pull out of my memory. And sometimes people would request something like La Vie en Rose. I had to learn that because
Oh, okay.
I guess the accordion.
Yeah, taking requests like in the subway or on the street. Yeah, that's a little. Let me just learn that song. Yeah, come on now.
Just,
So you started building up your repertoire of tunes. Okay, so that's in Boston. Did you move on from the accordion to something else at some point in Boston?
I
or?
did, but only out of necessity.
Okay. What happened to
I
the?
upgraded to a better accordion,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a fairly nice accordion, and I was really playing it much better. And I was playing in the subway one day, and just finishing up and starting to pack up my gear, my accordion, and this crazy drunk came staggering by and picked my accordion up, box and all, and hurled it onto the tracks, and it smashed into the concrete wall into
that's terrible.
smithereens.
Were you playing at the time and the sounds
No, I
were
was
like
just
upsetting him?
packing it.
Or
No, there's
just-
no rhyme or reason to it.
I
It
guess
was
with
just,
drunks on the street there is no.
reeling in insanity.
Right. And so what was your reaction to that? You're just
I
like
was
in tears, I
horrified.
bet. Yeah. Like
And of course, I went, yeah. I
your
went
livelihood
home.
just gets destroyed right in
Yeah,
front of you for
yeah.
no reason, just some
Right.
force of nature coming by, some destructive force.
So I did go home pretty much in tears
Yeah.
to Joel, and completely undaunted, he said, "But you still have your mic. You can just go out and sing. Forget the chord." Oh, right.
Yeah.
Not on your life. Just sing a cappella.
Yeah, a cappella with a little echo. This is something different.
But it happened to be coming up on Christmas season, and he said, "Yeah, just go out and sing some carols. They'll love it. A cappella, it's fine. And crank up that reverb, and it'll just kind of bounce off the buildings." So I mustered all my courage to do that. But
Yeah.
sure enough, people were turning their heads and saying, "Where is that voice coming from? Oh my goodness, this woman is standing on the street just singing Silent Night."
It does
It's
sound
so
quite lovely. I'm picturing snow falling in the city, and people
it was
hustling and
just
bustling
like
around
that.
early
I
80s.
did it all through the season, and on Christmas Eve, people were just feeling so charitable. I garnered $200 in tips
In one day.
in one afternoon and evening.
Wow. Yeah, that's nice.
And that was
That was-
1980s money.
That was 1983, I believe.
Okay.
And that happened to be the price of a Casio MT40 that I'd been eyeing in the window of Boston Music Company.
Oh, this is so cinematic. Yeah. Somebody needs to make a movie out of your life story, I think. Oh, so with that money, you go in like Christmas, basically.
Yeah, $200 was a lot of money. On the other hand, an accordion would have cost $800 or $900 or $1,000.
Oh yeah, for a new one.
So
sure.
that was my new ticket to ride, and
Wow.
I had to just learn my way around the keyboard and buttons of the.
So it had beats on it. It had different like pitch shifting and stuff like
It's the same one I
that.
play to this day.
Oh wow.
Although I've had to replace it.
I imagine, yeah.
The buttons and knobs do wear out over time, but.
Right, you've probably had a few different ones over the years, huh? Like the
Yeah,
same
but the
model.
same
Always
model. It's
go for the
always
same
the
one.
MT40, which now
The
is
MT40.
highly sought after. It turns
Oh,
out.
they're getting more expensive. Probably now it's not $200 anymore, but
Yeah, it's
probably quite a lot
on
more.
eBay, it's still around 200. But
It's still okay, so it hasn't really. The price hasn't shifted.
yeah, if
That's
you're
good.
willing to pay for it now.
I kind of want one now, yeah, because I like your music a lot. And
Oh yeah. Well, I am kind of a one-trick pony. I probably couldn't play anything more sophisticated than that. Because
I don't think it.
just
Yeah,
suits me.
the minimal sound is, I think, what appeals to a lot of people about it. Is the actual simplicity to it
Yeah,
that you haven't
but
started
actually, it's
making these
claim to
crazy
fame.
sounds.
It has 22 different voices, only
Oh.
6 rhythms. But the newer models came out with fewer voices and more rhythms.
Okay, so it's the
So for
specific like
me-
1983 model that
Yeah.
you're after. Yeah, that one.
Because the different voices, the different sound effects are what it's all about for me.
So you had that, and you started going out right away, like wintertime in Boston, playing your new
Yeah, I just
MT40.
sat on a bench with it on my lap and tried to figure out, just how to work it.
Cool,
how
and
to sing with it.
your husband's at home with with your daughter,
Right.
and
And he's also a fanatic for records, so everywhere we went, we would always be running into old record stores.
I know a few people like
street
that. Yeah,
sales.
there's a few today.
And he amassed a huge collection, and he would sit at home and comb through the records and find suitable songs for me to play.
Ah, so he was selecting a lot of the
So he was
covers.
still kind of the man behind the curtain.
Right, the Cosmic Man running
the
the
Cosmic
Space
Man.
Lady.
And I didn't even have a name at that point.
Did you wear the helmet at that point?
No.
Right.
Although he did start enhancing my visuals with little twinkling lights. He got me a little plastic daisy to put in my hair, and he
Oh,
put
cool.
a little blinking bulb in the center. And
That's kind of what I picture when I hear your music. These kind of like flashing bulbs and stuff.
yeah,
So that sounds really
he
appropriate.
decided I shouldn't be sitting, I should be standing and making more of a statement.
Right.
So he rigged up a keyboard stand out of an old camera tripod with a plank attached, and that's what I use to this day
Wow.
as well, because it's collapsible and
Yeah.
portable. So yeah, he made a tremendous contribution to the Space Lady, and then eventually crowned me with his winged helmet.
Wow. And then that was in Boston still. You stayed there for quite a
Still in
while.
Boston, yeah. I left in '84, so from
So you had about a year playing the
about
MT40.
2 years of playing.
2 years.
Yeah, from through '83
And
through
what
84.
made you leave Boston?
Well, we had been hankering to get back to San Francisco from day one,
Right.
but we just couldn't manage.
So you saved up some money with the.
Well, we came out with a cassette, and it
Oh, okay.
wasn't my street music actually. We came up with this kind of subterfuge idea of going into music stores and asking if I could fiddle around on their state-of-the-art synthesizers, and
And he
figure
had a
out-
microphone like hidden or something
Yeah,
like that.
I just had a little cassette tape player.
Yeah.
And I would play for half an hour and record what I was doing. And the music stores encouraged me. They thought they'd see me playing my Casio. Most people downtown. So it was legitimate. They thought, okay, she's going to upgrade to one of her big
Steve, could you shut that door all the way?
fancy state-of-the-art keyboards, which was really preposterous. But anyway, we
You were able to get a whole like cassette
got
out
a
of it.
whole hour's worth of little
Tunes.
clips on various different synthesizers.
So And those were all covers that you were doing.
No, it was just sound effects.
Just sound effects.
Ambient, no vocals at all.
Is this cassette still available at some point? Have
I
you
know
reissued
one of our family friends still has a copy of it.
You should put that out because I would be
Yeah.
very interested to hear that. That's
Well,
right up my alley. Yeah.
We titled the cassette "The Cosmic Man,"
Okay.
and the cover was an actual Kodak snapshot, which it was a picture of the winged helmet on a glass head.
Oh wow! But it's you performing all the music, even though
And
it's
I was performing all the music.
yeah.
But it was called "The Cosmic Man" because it was really Joel's brainchild.
Right.
He
Yeah.
still had aspirations of emerging eventually
Yeah,
as the
yeah.
Cosmic Man.
Yeah. You should really back that up, and I think a lot of people might be interested
Yeah,
in
I
those
think you're
sounds.
right
I think.
now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people here would be interested in hearing that. I mean, that stuff, you were ahead of your time with that sort of stuff because it's very popular to do things like that. And not going to music stores, but, those kind of sounds, just sound cassettes
Yeah.
and stuff.
It was very
Synth noise.
conceptual.
Yeah, it's very cool. So how many, did you just self-release, start dubbing these tapes and selling them on the streets in Boston still?
Yeah, we cut out the Kodak snapshots and glue them in onto a piece of cardstock and then rubber stamp the rim or edge, what do you call it?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's great. I mean, and other people around that time, like Daniel Johnston and people like that, I think were doing similar things, releasing their own
Right,
cassettes
right.
and
Who knew?
recording.
Not
Yeah,
us. We were
right. Yeah, but you're not in
pretty-
tap with any of this. Yeah, there's no
No.
internet to connect people like
Yeah, we
there
were-
is now.
Living pretty isolated life.
So you were able to save up enough to head back to San Francisco.
Well, that tape.
That tape, yeah.
put me over the top. I was at that point getting recognized, and I believe wearing the winged helmet at that point. And so I just sold.
But the name, the Space Lady, hadn't come up yet.
No,
Just the winged
no,
helmet and
not
the
until
music.
I got back to San Francisco, and we took at that point we had two children, two babies.
Okay, another baby in Boston.
Yeah,
A baby boy this time?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you and your two babies and your husband drove cross country, San
We-
Francisco?
We got bus tickets on
Bus tickets?
Continental Trail Race.
Oh, wow.
They offered that summer, the summer of '84, they offered a special where you could buy one adult ticket and have a free child
Oh, cool.
ticket. So
So two adult tickets
two
and
adult
you're
tickets,
heading
and
out?
we
And you
drove
have
down the road.
friends still in San Francisco or somewhere to go, or you're just trusting
no,
in
we had no friends, no communication.
nothing set up to live or anything? Just
No.
arrive on the street and
Yeah.
find a spot? So what did you do initially, like in San Francisco?
We rented a hotel room in North Beach.
Okay. Still affordable, I guess, back in those days, much more than it
Yeah,
would be now.
Absolutely. We were above a strip joint, actually.
Oh, great environment, yeah, for the children.
Great environment. It was close to Fisherman's Wharf, which was the only place I knew of to play.
Okay, and it was probably pretty different by the time you got back from the last time you'd been there almost 20 years ago. It probably changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Although
it had
retaining
about
that, yeah, it's
11 years
Yeah.
had passed.
Or 11 years, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
At that point. And yeah, it had gotten more expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I'd never played on the street when we lived there before, so that
Right.
was a whole new approach to making a living.
But it seems like San Francisco might be a more receptive environment than Boston.
Yes, it was. At least, well, it took several months for me to get my footing because Fisherman's Wharf.
A lot of fishermen out there, maybe not
and
not wanting to hear
tourists,
the yeah.
and
Okay.
Tourists who didn't necessarily understand what I was up to.
Right.
was
So you're
very-
playing with the MT40 and the vocal effects,
Right.
and you're playing at this
And,
point some of the songs you're known for now. Yet, are you playing like Major Tom or
Yes,
anything
I
like
was.
that?
I actually started playing Major Tom back in Boston.
Right, that's the first song of yours that I heard, Tom, on that, and so I heard it. But when I heard it, it sounded like something I'd known forever, almost
Oh.
something very familiar about your music. I was like, oh, I must know the Space Lady. But then I looked you up, and I was like, oh, I don't think I do. But this sounds sounds like something I heard long ago. I don't know.
Oh, that's so cool to hear.
Yeah, and I thank John for hipping me to that. Yeah, he's got good taste. So so you're spent quite a lot of years right in San Francisco.
Yes, but as I said, it took me quite a while to get my footing, and it wasn't until I discovered the Castro district, the gay community.
Ah, and they
totally embraced me
And is that when you
elevated me to the status of artist.
Ah,
I
okay.
didn't,
And is this when you needed the name? Like we were like, okay, now I'm a real
people
artist. I gotta.
started asking me what my name was, and when I said Susan, they'd say, "But don't you have a stage name?"
Yeah.
And I'd never considered that, although I immediately began racking my brain for some idea of a stage name, and I finally came up with Susie Sounds. I thought that's going to be pretty easily
that's catchy.
remembered and catchy.
Yeah.
Not so much.
No.
People would call me Susie Songs or Susie Tunes or anything but Susie Songs. It frustrated.
Was it sounds like with the Z or just
Yeah.
sounds with the Z?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
because-
better. Yeah,
I
Susie
know.
Sounds.
You know, Joel and I had come up with amazing things for our production company back when we were doing the
Yeah.
cassette. So Susie Sounds seemed to fit with that. But people referred to me as the Space Lady more often. And I actually...
Oh, people started calling you
So
that.
they started calling
Hey,
me
hey,
that,
Space
and-
Lady, what's
Yeah,
your?
there's a Space Lady.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
she's
the-
everywhere.
So you were christened by your fans,
I
basically.
was, yeah.
Wow, that's
And
great.
My name was entered into a contest. I think it was the Berkeley Barb that had a yearly contest for best restaurant, you know, best this,
Mm-hmm.
best that, best busker, or best street musician.
Right.
In America, we don't even have a legitimate title.
Yeah, yeah. Busking, I guess, is what I most associate with people playing instruments.
Yeah.
But I don't
It's
think
more of a
I've never heard that there was
European
contests.
term.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was like
Yeah, and
any kind
in
of
the Bay
contest or
Area.
network or anything
So
like
anyway,
that.
I came in second place.
Oh, cool. How did you submit a cassette or what did you do to enter that?
It
or
was just a popular vote.
oh from the streets of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Who came in first?
Grimes.
Grimes.
The human,
Who's now huge? Yeah, Grimes is a big artist now, right?
Well, he was.
Oh, different Grimes, right?
He was a guy who would stand inside a big, tall cardboard box, and he was known as the human jukebox. The
Oh.
incredible human jukebox, and tourists would put money in a slot and push a button for a song, select a song, and he would pull out his trumpet, and you couldn't see anything but the trumpet sticking out of a hole.
Yeah.
But he was quite an accomplished jazz musician.
Did you know Grimes? Were you friends?
Not really. I was
you've
just
seen him-
so
yeah.
nose to the grindstone. I just did my thing and, tried to...
Well, I think in the long run you came out on top because I don't think a lot of people are listening to Grimes. This.
Unfortunately, yeah, he's...
Although I would love to see that.
crossed over.
Right.
Yeah, he ended up just living on the street and dying on the street. It was sad, but he's
It happens to a lot of
definitely-
people, I guess. Yeah,
No,
that's some
still,
people never make it off, but
he's- He was highly regarded and pretty iconic to San Franciscans who appreciated what he did. And
very cool. When did you put out your first recordings? I know you did those other recordings, but the first songs that were known
yeah,
or that are known now, or I
didn't
guess,
have an opportunity until 1990. So 10 years went by.
just playing on the
People-
street. Yeah.
just playing and not having the cassette that everybody begged me for. When are you going to have a cassette? When are you going to come out with a cassette?
Yeah.
Finally, I had an opportunity to record in a friend's home studio for free. He donated the time because he'd
Very
just
cool.
gotten some digital equipment and he needed to know he needed a guinea pig basically
Right,
so
right.
he could learn how to use it.
And was that mostly just live recordings, or did you do overdubs and stuff, or
No,
was it
it's
just like one shot?
Strictly live.
Strictly live.
Yeah.
And what songs did you record at that point in 1990?
Well, actually, that cassette is now the Space Lady's greatest hits, having been remastered by Night School Records out of London,
Oh, cool.
now out of Glasgow.
So so those initial songs, "Fly Like an Eagle" and all the one I guess we have
Right,
it.
Major
It was
Tom.
over there, Major Tom, and there it is.
There it is.
Right, and was that the original cover that was on the 1990 cassette? or-
No,
But that is probably a picture of you in that era, I guess. Like
that photograph is probably 1984 or 85.
so earlier.
Because
Cool.
I can tell you that I was playing at a street fair. In the background there is a booth of tie-dye T-shirts.
Yeah. Oh,
how
right.
that came to
Okay,
be.
that's cool.
Made for a really nice photo.
And so you were able to sell this cassette, and that sold pretty well, like your previous
Yeah,
one, and
mhm.
make some money off that in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so how long did you stay in San Francisco?
We stayed
All through the 90s, or?
1992.
Okay.
Yeah, from
And what-
94 to 92.
What made
But
you leave at that
we
point?
just left because we were undergoing yet another bout of homelessness,
Oh no.
living out of our car.
Living out of the car with two children who are now like, I don't know, like 7, 5, something like that,
and,
like young children.
And a 1-year-old at that point.
Oh,
We had
a
third baby.
a
in
daughter?
San Francisco, another daughter. Yes.
Okay.
So, a girl, a boy, and a girl.
Right. So that's a tough life.
So,
That
at
is a
that
really
point,
tough life. Wow.
I was.
And Joel still is kind of just masterminding the music, but not like working a job or.
Yeah, he was not even masterminding the
Music at that
anymore.
point,
He
okay.
was just overwhelmed with caring for the 3 kids.
Right.
And
So you're the provider,
collecting
yeah.
records.
And collecting records.
Collecting guitars, and at this point.
It seems a little maybe not the thing you should be doing at that point.
Stashing all of her stuff into a storage bin, piles and piles of records.
Right, yeah, maybe the
Paying
house
rent
could,
on
yeah.
the storage bin while we're living
Well, you're
out
living
of
in a car. Oh,
And
that's
so our marriage was
that would
on
put a
the
lot of stress.
rocks,
Yeah, I'd
and
imagine.
Our kids were vulnerable. They weren't in school. We were homeschooling, if you can even call it that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I was just beside myself. So I made demands of Joel that we had to get legitimate.
Right.
We had to really, get our kids' birth certificates and
Yeah.
get IDs and actually have a house.
Yeah, seems
And
like a
that,
good plan.
At that point, would mean getting public assistance, and Joel was so terrified of the government.
Because of the
Even
draft
more
dodge. Yeah.
so. I mean, it was becoming he was in a state of paranoia, and it was really, he was not
Unpleasant situation,
sound,
I guess.
not
Yeah.
mentally sound, and
Right.
it was becoming more and more apparent as
Yeah.
years went by.
So where did you head in 1992?
So we left San Francisco, packed up our car, and drove to Mount Shasta.
And that's in I'm not sure where that is.
Washington
It's on
State?
the Oregon border, still
Okay.
in California.
Okay, gotcha. Headed north.
And it was actually
Is this where you lived in a cave? Because
Coming
somebody told
full
me.
circle.
Okay, because somebody
So-
did tell me to ask you if you lived in a
Yeah,
cave at some point. 'Cause
but
there's
that cave episode predated any of this. It
Oh.
was
during the
Joel and I
commune era,
alone.
or
It was shortly after Joel and I had met, and he was trying to become the cosmic man.
yeah.
It was en route to Alaska, and before Boston, before any of that. So our cave days were in the 70s, early 70s.
How long did you live in a cave for?
We spent the winter in a cave.
Wow,
Yeah.
like bears almost, sort of.
Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be a crazy story all in itself. The cave life.
I have devoted some time to writing about this.
Yeah, this is very interesting stuff. But let's jump forward because we don't want to spend too much time on this. So you head up to Mount Shasta, and you
So,
lived on
yeah.
on the mountain itself.
Yeah, we decided it would be better than being homeless in a city. It would be better to camp on a mountain, so we camped on Mount Shasta.
So now you're living out of a tent with 3
For-
children on top of a
No
mountain.
tent.
No tent.
Yeah, kind
That would
of
be
under
too much.
the open sky, but
Wow.
as winter approached,
And you have your musical equipment, or I guess it's in the car, stored in the car.
I was commuting. I was going down to the city on the weekends.
What's the nearest? Is Mount Shasta the name of the city as well, or what's-
Yes,
Okay.
but we weren't living in the town of Mount Shasta. We were
All right,
on the mountain
on the
camping.
mountain.
And I was driving down to play on the weekends, driving back, and that
Can't
was
imagine you're making nearly as much money at that point, though.
300-mile drive. Well, it
Yeah.
pretty much soon entailed my staying for a week at a time, or even 2 weeks at a time.
Away from your children.
Away from the kids.
That's
and
rough,
It was
yeah.
really rough. But so as winter approached, we managed to rent a little ski cottage as we were going through the paperwork of getting on the welfare rolls.
Wow.
And so we finally did, and we were able to rent a nice little house in the forest.
Oh, that's great. Much better environment than a car or open sky.
So, and entered the kids into school
In Mount Shasta.
in a smaller town.
Smaller town near
actually,
there.
McLeod.
It's still in California.
It's still just a stone's throw from Mount Shasta.
And at that point, are you doing much more with music, or just kind of
Well, at that
occasionally?
point, I had come full circle musically and gone back to playing accordion
Oh, wow.
because it was just too involved and too expensive buying batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I wasn't able to play in the subways as an electronic musician.
And probably out there, there's not even that many subways. I mean, I can't imagine the population
just
is
BART
that high.
stations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal like it had been in Boston.
Right. So, so how long did you stay out there in Mount Shasta area, or that area?
Another 7 years, and I left in 2000. I gave up on my music, gave up on my marriage,
Oh,
and my kids were coming into their own. My oldest was an adult with a child of her own, and
Oh, wow.
had, married,
wow.
and she was instrumental in liberating me. She and her husband really kind of swooped in on us, and my son had already left home to join her, and she came and got me and my youngest child, and we left it all behind.
Right, and Joel stayed out there in the mountain.
He stayed
or
there
on
in
the
the,
yeah.
in the cloud home, and
And where you went
much
back to
his
Colorado,
chagrin,
or
he was heartbroken and traumatized.
yeah?
But I went back to Colorado to be near my aging parents who
Okay.
needing help.
And just with your one child at that
And,
point?
yeah,
was with
just
you?
my
Your
youngest came with me and went to high school.
Okay. And then you lived in Colorado in the early 2000s. And when did you start playing music again?
Not until 2014. After
Really?
I remarried in
Right, because you're at some point before that, your music must have been sort of discovered by a wider audience. Because I heard you in 2011, I guess, when I heard that mix.
Yeah, when I got back to Colorado, one of the first things I did was have my cassette digitalized so that I could answer. I was getting emails still from people around the world asking, where has the space lady gone? When are you coming back to
How
San
did your music
Francisco?
spread around the world, though? People in San Francisco who had that cassette had been
Yeah,
I
guess.
Well, that
You tell me, but
we were having a short discussion in the other room just before we got in here, and you brought up the name of this guy that I just discovered recently, Sisto Rodriguez, and you were about to explain, that documentary that was on him,
Searching for Sugar Man.
right?
Yeah.
But then you were about to explain, and I said, wait, explain this on the the air. You said
Okay.
you caught some sort of a break of some sort.
yeah,
I think.
well, I do kind of identify with Rodriguez in that he was discovered or rediscovered much later in life, as I had been, after I got my cassette turned into a CD, and of course then it was uploaded and bootlegged and
Yeah.
circulated, and actually
But you weren't really
picked up-
spreading it out yourself, right? It was like
not
other people
really.
just kind of like...
Actually, I
So-
didn't even want to think about the space lady
Yeah.
anymore. I thought it had been
So much
highly.
comparable to the way Rodriguez his fame
Yeah, he
spread
went back to
unknown to
his-
him. It spread in South Africa, and organically your fans are just spreading your stuff around without your prompting or intervention, or it's just
It had took on a life of its own.
so kind of the internet
Kind.
and getting your music digitized sort of allowed that to start apparently.
Cool. And so it got back to you at some point, like, oh, I have a fan base out there. I have there's interest in my music. And were you making any profit off this? I guess probably not. At
Oh,
that point, you
no.
weren't making any
No,
money
I
off this
was-
music spreading. It was like,
Right, I was, getting an email or two a month. Nothing. It wasn't an onslaught of emails, but
right.
after I remarried to Eric, who was also a singer-songwriter
Yeah.
in his own right, it piqued his curiosity. Why are you getting emails from people after all this time
Wow.
and from around the world? What was it you did on the street? And I really hadn't told him, except that I played a keyboard. And,
Yeah. He hadn't
done
listened
it
to the
for
he
20
hadn't
years.
heard the recordings or anything. It took him a while.
track or two, but he
Yeah.
was more a folk music enthusiast and
Right, right.
classical, and he didn't know any he didn't know any of my songs,
Right.
so he had no frame of reference for them, and it just didn't didn't catch his interest, but the emails did.
Yeah.
And so he insisted that I go on eBay and reorder my equipment, because I'd left all that behind. For some reason, I had an inkling that I might want to keep the helmet. Thank heavens.
And it's
I
the
did.
same helmet you're playing into this day. It's like the
Yes,
original. You've
it
never
is.
replaced that helmet.
No.
Wow. That's like your most precious
Yes,
thing you
it's
have to guard on the
totally
tour then. Wow.
irreplaceable.
Yeah. Wow.
So I managed to replace my equipment, and I launched into the one and only song that Eric would recognize, which was Ghost Riders.
Yeah.
And up until that point, he was always kind of needling me and pestering me to be more assertive.
Yeah.
He didn't like that I was such a shy person, and he was so assertive, and he wanted to support me in, speaking out and standing up. So when I launched into Ghost Riders, his mouth fell open, and he said, "That's the real you coming out. I've never seen you so self-expressed. You've got to do this again. I'll support you. I'll manage you. I'll handle the logistics and the communications." He was just over the moon with excitement.
And you're married to him right now?
Sadly, he passed away.
Oh, I'm so
2
sorry to
years
hear
ago.
that. Oh, I'm sorry.
But he was key to my relaunch.
And what was one of the first things? Getting the record out? Like,
He sat me down at my computer and said, "You're going to email all your fans right this minute and tell them that the Space Lady is back."
Wow.
And so I did, very hesitantly
Yeah.
and with much trepidation, because I didn't think after all that time I could even remember how to play anything but Ghost Riders.
You
which
hadn't
was-
played in like 20 years or
Yeah.
something? Wow.
Exactly.
Hadn't picked anything up. And what was your first performance after that? After picking it back up, your first live performance? Was it after a record deal had already been made and
the
stuff?
record deal. Well, we got inquiries from 3 producers, and
Right, because at that point, I knew your music. I think a lot of it had spread pretty wide at that point, because I was...
evidently, because I'd been heard, and again, Eric had phone conversations with these 3 people who were interested in signing me, and he picked Michael Kasparas. He just had a good rapport with Michael Kasparas from Night School Records, and so we signed a deal with them, and they did a masterful job.
It's it's well distributed, yeah.
Beautiful.
And what was your first live performance after that? Was it in
So
Colorado or?
No, Michael flew out and organized a tour of the West Coast.
Oh, so not just one performance. You're like, after 20 years of
tour,
not
after
playing,
20 years.
time to do a
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Bellingham, Washington was my first gig on stage ever.
Wow, and do you have
Yeah,
a lot of people? Was it well attended? Like people?
Oh gosh, about 20 people showed up. I think it was in like a little garage.
Yeah, well, I don't know where
So I
Bellingham,
thought,
Washington
it's a
is,
tiny
so
little
yeah.
town, but
I guess
it
it's
has
better
a
to start.
real
You don't want to be
countercultural-
intimidated by playing in front of the Carnegie.
Yeah,
you
he
know.
seemed to psych me out for that
Yeah.
because I was so afraid.
build up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
And after that show, and they received me so well, so graciously, I thought, wow, maybe I can do this.
Wow.
And so
And you've been kind of touring ever since, huh?
I've been touring ever since.
And putting out new music, right? You've put out some new
Yeah.
stuff. I know Mark Tester said you put out a split with him, with the Burnt Ones, and put out some other records. I think you put out like a live album or something, right?
Well, I got a brand new album with Mississippi Records that we brought with us called The Space Lady on the Street of Dreams. And the title track is by Ritchie Blackmore and Rainbow,
Wow.
a song I used to play on the street because the lyrics are so appropriate.
Very
Do
cool.
you remember me on the Street of Dreams?
And with the touring, you haven't limited yourself just to this country. I think you've said that you've gone over to Europe.
Yeah,
I don't
I've
know how many
actually
times
been
or how often.
And Australia, your grandson was telling me.
Australia.
You have your grandson here with you as
I
your tour
do.
manager. That's amazing.
Thankfully, as Eric was getting ill, and too weak to tour with me anymore, he pretty much passed the baton to Skylar, my grandson, 22-year-old grandson, and he's just picked up the ball and run with it.
That's
beautifully.
amazing. Yeah.
So I've had 3 very powerful men behind me and mentoring me. And Skylar
so-
is number 3.
Out of all your touring, is there maybe one or two experiences that have come out of nowhere that really surprised you, or were unexpected experiences, whether they're really weird or just
gosh.
people unexpectedly appreciating your stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so unexpected. I had no idea, and that's where the parallel for me with Rodriguez is, because he had no idea how powerful his music had been received in South Africa during the anti-apartheid movement. His songs became their anthems.
Wow. And did you find that your music was like latched on in any particular place?
Yeah.
Like there's a particular...
One of Joel's contributions, a song he wrote right immediately upon my transition from accordion to electronic keyboard, "Synthesize Me."
That was Joel wrote that
Joel's
song. That's a great
and,
song.
It's preceded me around the world. People sing along with it and
Wow.
cheer me. As soon as I announce I'm going to play "Synthesize Me," a big cheer will break out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also surprising and incredibly heartening that the countercultural movement is so alive and well all over the world.
Yeah, it sure is.
And,
yeah.
Kind of beneath the radar.
Definitely.
That's
yeah.
an important...
It's not what gets. It doesn't make it on the news and stuff like that. Yeah. They don't like to talk about that anymore. But
that's a good thing, as it turns out.
Yeah, it's good that people are still connected with each other all over.
Best kept secret.
Definitely.
Would you say it's fair to say that the existence of the internet is a large element of the reason a lot of people have now been able to discover you?
You gotta know it, and it's a powerful tool for both good and ill.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
for connecting people and
balance.
dividing people. So I had a question a friend wanted me to ask was that. Do you ever take requests to like perform? Like if somebody's like, "Hey, this is a song I really think you should cover." Do people ever like request songs?
Suggest songs
for you to cover that this would sound really good done in Space Lady style. Has that happened before? Like that you've heard like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me try that.
Yeah. Actually, though, I've been more inclined since I've been so beautifully supported. I've started writing more songs of my own.
Right, I liked the originals today. Yeah, they were really cool.
did you?
Even some on the
Thanks.
guitar, Brave New World and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a brave adventure to try to
Play the guitar.
Play
Yeah.
guitar
You just keep expanding your
I'm really excited about learning to play guitar and accompany myself on some of the old songs from my childhood, because I grew up a folkie.
Right. Coming full circle.
Yeah.
And you're living in Colorado now. You're based out of Colorado still? Since since the early 2000s. What's up, Steve? Just the feedback.
Well, we
phone
asked
call.
people
Yeah,
to call.
I do want to take callers. So let's open it up to some listeners now and get some people on. So we got somebody calling in. Hold on just a second. I haven't done this in a while. Hello, you're on the air on WCSB with the Space Lady.
Yeah, pleasure to talk to the Space Lady and you guys up there. I heard you talking about how she went out to San Francisco in 1967. I was wondering if there's any standout memories of stuff that just was unbelievable that you saw at that time, coming from a more rural area and then winding up in San Francisco at that very colorful time in history.
Yeah.
If she has any standout memories from that time she was there.
Just the colorful, I mean, literally colorful environment that Haight Street was at the time. I mean, people in flowing gowns and ribbons and flowers in their hair, cliche notwithstanding, and people playing music everywhere you went, and Golden Gate Park just filled with joyful people. It was something I had no reference for, no frame of reference for.
It was so overwhelming that you left after just less than a year or something, right?
Yeah, I really didn't know what to expect, and it was completely mind-blowing, not to mention partaking of cannabis for the first time ever. So my world was turned on its head. And one memory that definitely stands out was just walking through the Panhandle and seeing a crowd of people surrounding this flatbed truck and hearing music. And then from a distance, as I approached, I was making out the lyrics. Don't you want somebody to love?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Don't you need somebody
The
to
airplane,
love?
yeah.
And lo and behold, the Jefferson Airplane were playing for free in
Oh, wow.
Panhandle. And,
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
wow.
And what was your commune experience like? Were you playing music in the commune when you were there?
No, that was...
That was much later, I guess, or a little bit later.
No, that was before I
That was
met Joel. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I met
yeah.
Joel. And that was during my hitchhiking period.
Right,
I was hitching from New Mexico back and forth to
Mm.
San Francisco and trying to get a foothold somewhere in the world and in the hippie culture, which I didn't even fit in anywhere.
Like you said today, you used to consider yourself an outcast, but now you like the term outsider better now.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Erwin Chusett.
Right.
Gotta drop his name in here.
That's cool. If anybody else has a question for the Space Lady, you can call it in now at 216-687-3515. That's the number down here at the station. We're talking with the one, the only, the legend, the Space Lady here live in the studio. So this is your chance, because this is your first time in Cleveland, and who knows
It is.
how long it'll take for you to come back. Hopefully you'll come back, because I got a great barn if you ever want to play out there. We'll get the Oberlin crowd out there. There's a lot of students out there. They'd be really into it, and it sounds good. So yeah, we got another caller. Let's put him on the air. Hello, you're on the air on WCSB with the Space Lady.
Yes, greetings. Pleasure to talk to you all. I'm just wondering if the Space Lady's first husband, did he ever calm down at all about being searched out for the draft division? Did it ever pass?
That was sadly ironic that although President Jimmy Carter pardoned the war resistors and gave them a stature that they hadn't received as draft dodgers, quote unquote, and nonetheless Joel had become so frightened and paranoid about the government or any aspect of government agency, he could not bring himself to surface, and just kept that low profile.
Right. Is he still around, or did he pass?
Joel passed
on?
away too.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But there was nothing no one came for him eventually. It was nothing happened to him.
Nothing ever happened to him. He did, at my insistence, finally come around and get his identity reestablished, although he legalized his pseudonym.
The Cosmic Man?
He took the name Joel Dunsany after a science fantasy writer, Lord Dunsany, British science fantasy writer, wrote.
All right.
Is this the last question I have for Ed? Was you just got back from doing a little jaunt up in Canada? Was that the first time you had toured up there?
No, well, I played Toronto twice before at Double Land, and then last night it was at their new venue right across the street, The Boat.
Cool.
But I hadn't played Hamilton before, so that was a new...
What are some of the more unusual gigs you've done since you've been touring? Have you played a lot of, I don't know, like... I mean, today you played in a parking lot, sort of. Well, not a parking lot, but you played in the field, AstroTurf. Have you played, like, on a boat or in a, I don't know?
I played in La Petite Bande in Paris.
Oh.
And let's see, boat. You should pick his brain because he's got... They don't call me the Space Lady for nothing. And he has a great memory for all these different venues.
Right, yeah, the Skylar, yeah, if you could join us.
I played Queen's Park in Glasgow.
Okay.
And I was the first performer on the new stage that they'd erected.
Oh,
which-
awesome! Yeah, you
yeah,
christened
that
their
was
state. You
quite-
christened our
I
field
did.
today. Yeah, you're the
Oh,
first person to perform. Well,
thank
not
you.
the
I
well. Today
didn't
was the
realize
first
that.
day. There was a couple acts before you, but today was
Okay.
like the
Oh,
first
nice
day
to know.
out there.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can pass along the word of Space Lady here to Elon Musk, and maybe he can work in something for his SpaceX,
shoot me out
space
into
exploration,
space.
Space Lady. I don't know.
On a convertible
What are your
Tesla.
and if anyone else has a question, now's the time to call because we're going to wrap this interview up. The next program has to come on. You're listening to WCSB Cleveland, 216-687-3515. If you have any last questions for the Space Lady, I would like to ask you what your ambitions are for the future, just to keep touring, putting out more records, is there some place you really want to go, like some dream you have of playing in
Well,
some far off corner or something?
what I want to do is amass a movement of the counterculture to save the planet. It's a small
I think you're the
task.
one to lead this movement. I'm ready to get behind you. I will follow
It's
you.
Forward march.
Okay. You've gone vegan, you said, in the last couple of years, and that's
Yes,
been pretty
and-
important to you. You've been a
yeah, that was-
vegetarian before that for quite some time.
My whole adult life, but I didn't realize, first of all, how easy it is to become vegan. I thought I could never give up cheese and
Yeah.
cream in my coffee.
Oh, right.
But there are so many great alternative foods. If we would just explore them, and they're developing more and more delicious and palatable and nutritious meat alternatives, dairy alternatives.
Are there any particular charities you want to shout out to, or organizations that you really?
I want
are-
to shout out for animal rights,
Okay, that's
because it is literally a Holocaust going on right.
with the meat
behind-
industry, the
Yeah.
the food industry.
So by becoming vegan, we provide for animal health, our own health, and the health of the planet. So it's a triptych of reasons that each individual can make a huge impact. I think it's the most powerful impact one person can make, is by refusing to support the animal holocaust.
That's thank you for sharing that message. Give me something to think about.
Yes. it's
Thank you for
food
doing this
thought.
interview. Food for thought. Any last things you'd like to say before we?
Yes, one more thing.
Okay.
Peace begins on your plate.
All right. We've been talking to the Space Lady, Susan. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for playing at our radio station. I hope you will come back and
Thank
play
you.
Cleveland again.
I'm
And
totally honored.
yeah, it's been a great day here at WCSB, and some great music. And hopefully, I think we recorded the live audio. Hopefully, we'll be playing that on the air in the weeks to come. Every show, we've got to devote an hour of the show to Space Lady's live set, now. So we're gonna let the next DJ come in here and start the show, the Ultrasounds show, and I'll play a couple PSAs. And thank you so much. Okay. All right. Here's some important words. And I will be back on Tuesday, just to plug myself, 3 to 5, Heartbeat in the Brain, in the afternoon. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.